What's up, all of you beautiful nerds? It's Josh here with the Den of Nerds. Happy Batman Day to all of you. And in this video, I want to do a very special treat. Me and the Den of Nerds crew got to sit down with Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman from the animated Batman series. And in this video, I want to show you some clips from this interview, which perfectly illustrate why Kevin Conroy is the best Batman that we've ever had. So I hope you enjoy this little bit of interview with Kevin Conroy, and happy Batman Day to all of you nerds. It's been a great time here at Keystone Comic Con. Honestly, it's been incredible. Here is that interview with Kevin Conroy.
With the 27 years of playing Batman, we've been to the Frank Miller panel today, we did the Batman panel downstairs, and your portrayal of Batman has transcended so many decades. Most of us are in our 30s, some of us are older, and there was about a 7-year-old boy who said, my favorite Batman portrayal is the animated series. How does that make you feel that so many takes to Batman in live action and animated, and you may go down as the penultimate Batman? In my mind, you are.
Yeah, definitely.
Mine's too.
Drop the name.
You are Batman.
I think, look, I am so, it's incredible to think that you've affected that many people with a performance. It's humbling, it's amazing. I'm very, very proud of it. I struggled to become an actor. I've been supporting myself since I was 17. I went to Juilliard on scholarship. I did not have it easy. And I worked up through regional theater and Joe Papp at the Public and making no money and waiting tables. I mean, I paid my dues. It was not an overnight thing. And I'm proud of the training I've had, and I'm proud of the dues I've paid. And all of that experience, all of that life experience went into Batman. And who knew that was gonna be where it would go? I was training to do Shakespeare. Batman is Shakespearean. Of all the animated characters, he is the epic Shakespearean character. He's Hamlet, he's Edmund, he's Edgar, he's Orestes, he's Achilles, he's all those epic mythological characters. He's just our culture's version of it.
Wow.
So it's so bizarre and kind of karmic that this New York actor with no background in animation at all, never having done an animated character, the first audition he goes on is this epic, mythological, heroic, classic character. I mean, how bizarre is that? That I would be the guy that walks into the room and does that. They saw 500 people.
Wow.
They were looking for months for this role. Andre said they couldn't find anybody because I know everyone who was going in was doing the Hollywood audition, was doing their take on what a Hollywood leading man would sound like. They were doing Harrison Ford, or they were doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were doing what their image was of what that would be. I was doing a classic, tragic, screwed up guy with issues. That's Hamlet. That's Achilles. It's all those characters. So it's so weird, though, that I, as a fluke, would be the guy who walks in. And oddly enough, Andrea Romano had a very good friend who, and I didn't know this at the time, I found this out years later, who from New York, a guy named Anthony Barneo, who was a casting guy in New York. He did mostly theater. And she was struggling trying to put this show together. And she said, we can't find our Batman. How are we going to do the show? We can't. And he said, there's this really interesting actor I know from the Public Theater who does a lot of Shakespeare. His name is Kevin Conroy. Have you ever met him? And she said, I've never even heard of him. Does he ever work in LA? And I didn't know this conversation went on. So when my voiceover agent suggested that I go in and read for them, she said, oh, that's that guy that Anthony mentioned. So that was just one person mentioning, that's how life is so random that way. So it was a complete and utter fluke that I got this job. But in terms of the universe and karma and all that stuff, it seemed to be going in that direction for years since I was a kid. You know, I seem to be kind of going there, but like John Lennon says, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans.
Being that this week marks an anniversary of a tragic event, 9/11, there is a rumor I heard when I was in New York that you were cooking for the firefighters and policemen as a volunteer. I just wondered, is that true?
That was the best last question.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nice way to close.
Like everyone who lives in New York, I was deeply affected. Like everyone everywhere, I was deeply affected. But the New Yorkers especially were like, wow. And I went to volunteer, and they had lines of people already, and they said, we have all the diggers we need, we have all the tunnelers we need, we have all these relief people. But they gave me a phone number to call. And I called this phone number, and I heard all this noise at the other end of the phone. And I said, I've been told to call you. I wanted to volunteer, but they don't need anyone. They said, well, this is the restaurant that's feeding everybody. What we really need are restaurant workers. Do you have any restaurant experience? I said, I'm an actor. Of course I have restaurant experience. I said, what do you need? I said, do you need waiters or cooks? And he said, wait a minute, you cook? I said, yeah, I worked in the kitchen. They said, are you free? I said, well, yeah, I'm between jobs right now. They said, no, I mean, are you free right now, tonight? We need you now. So I started doing the night shift that night.
Wow.
And that was in the week right after the attack. And it was just a few blocks away from the pot. They called it the pile. And the smell was something that no one will ever forget. It was the sort of sulfurous, sweet smell. And there was just a glow from all the work lights that were shining on the pile as they were searching. And then we were running this massive kitchen a few blocks away, and firefighters and emergency people and cops and more cops and more cops would come through all night long. And I did the night shift from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. for a couple of weeks, it turned out to be. And all this food would come down in trucks from the Midtown restaurants. It was like this improvised machine was created in a matter of days. It was amazing. And all this food would come in. We had all these portable refrigerators, and all this stuff was being put in. They had these portable ovens, and there was this massive dining hall that had been set up. And this restaurant called Nico's, that doesn't exist anymore, had been commandeered. And all these volunteers started trickling. In the middle of the night, there was this wonderful Asian man who had raised his family in Queens. We called him Mike because no one could pronounce his Chinese name. And he came and he had tears in his eyes. And he said, this country has given me so much. He said, I have to do something. So the head cook said, we're putting Mike to work. We can't send him home. We have to keep him here. And every night that I was there, Mike came back. And it turned out his son was a resident in a hospital in Manhattan. He was becoming a surgeon. First generation. This was a guy who'd come in as an immigrant, and he'd raised his family in Queens, and he wanted to get back to this city that had given him so much. And that, you heard that story a lot this week, those weeks, was people who felt they owed so much to New York and couldn't believe this had happened. And in the middle of cooking, one of the guys goes, so my day job is I'm an architect. What's your day job? And I said, well, I'm an actor. He said, do you do some kind of special kind of acting? I said, well, I really do animation voices. He said, I knew it! He said, I knew your name. You're Batman!
That is great.
I said, yeah, I do the voice. He said, this is so awesome. He said, can I tell the guys in the dining hall? I I said, no one's gonna care. You know, the world was coming to an end, and they're gonna care. The cook is Batman. He said, are you kidding? He said, they're gonna go crazy. So he goes out in the dining hall, and he says, guys, and there's this, you know, this is a rowdy group of people. This is firemen and cops, and you know, these are blue collar, nasty ass that language people. And he says, "You're not gonna believe who's been in the cooking your dinners. It's Batman." There's this long lull. Everything's real quiet, and you hear, "Bullshit." And then there's someone else screams out, "Make him prove it!" So I thought, okay, challenge. That's not good. So back in the kitchen I do, I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman. There's this long pause, and then you hear, holy fuck! That is Batman! And they just start streaming back into the kitchen, and suddenly we heard this laughter. And people going, oh man, you know, the Joker this, and Harley Quinn that, and oh, that Poison Ivy, man, she's a babe. And everyone just started laughing. And the architect who had recognized me said, how does it feel to be Santa Claus?
Wow.
He said, because that's the first laugh that we've heard in 2 weeks.
Oh, damn.
And I called Andrea the next morning. Because the whole motivation for doing this was I felt like I'd wasted my life. At that time, I think a lot of people felt like they'd wasted their lives. Because people were dying.
Yeah.
And what are you doing? You're working in animation doing a voice. What are you doing with your life? You're not saving anybody. And I called Andrea the next morning and said, you know something? What we do really does matter.
Yeah.
Because the one thing they needed last night was a good laugh.
Yeah.
I said, you would have been so proud. That place burst out laughing. And people were happy for just a few minutes. So that's my ground zero.
Thank you.
Oh, we gotta go.
All right, so that's it. I hope you had a great Batman Day wherever you are at in the world. And if you are in Philadelphia, I hope you've made it out to Keystone Comic Con. It's been a ton of fun. Come on out for Sunday, the last day of the con tomorrow. And if you see me or the Den of Nerds crew, come say hi. We'd love to interview you, give you a nerd card, just have a lot of fun. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and nerdy day. And I will see you in the next video.